two players sit at the same piano, read the exact same notes off the exact same page, and play them at the exact same volume. Listen to the first player. Now listen to the second player. Those were identical pitches, yet they did not sound the same at all. The difference is articulation, the part of written music that tells you not which note and not how loud, but how each note starts and how each note stops. It is the touch in your fingers, and it carries half of the character of a line. Let us start with the most common mark of all, a single dot. Staccato is a small dot placed directly above or below a note head, and it means play the note short and detached. You lift your finger well before the next note is due, so a clear gap of silence opens up after the sound. Here is the key idea that trips people up. The note keeps its written length on the page. A quarter note is still a quarter note, but you only hold a fraction of that length and let the rest become silence. Listen to four plain quarter notes, held full and smooth. Now listen to the same four notes played staccato, each one clipped short with a gap after it. Same pitches, same rhythm on the page, but the staccato version is crisp and bouncy where the plain version was flat. That little dot is doing all the work. Now the opposite touch. Legato means smooth and connected, one note flowing straight into the next with no gap between them at all. In written music, the instruction for legato is the slur, a curved line drawn over a group of notes. Everything under that arc is to be played as one smooth gesture, as if it were sung in a single breath. Listen to a run of 5 notes played legato, each one joined to the next with no break. There is no silence between them, just one continuous line climbing. Where staccato chops the line into separate points, the slur ties it into a single phrase. Most lyrical, singing melodies live under slurs, and most sharp, rhythmic, punchy passages live under staccato dots. There is one mark that looks almost exactly like the slur, and confusing the two is the most common reading mistake in this whole topic. That mark is the tie. A tie is also a curved line between two notes, but it joins two notes of the same pitch into one longer sound. You play the first note and hold it through the second, you do not strike the second note again. A slur, by contrast, arcs over notes of different pitches and simply means play them smoothly. So the curve looks the same, but the notes underneath tell you the job. Same pitch on both ends, it is a tie, hold straight through. Listen to a tie now, one note held across the curve. Different pitches under the curve, it is a slur, play them legato. Listen to a slur now, two different notes joined smoothly. Look at the note heads, not just the curve, and the two never confuse you again. Next, the accent. The accent mark is a small sideways wedge, an arrowhead pointing to the right, set above or below a note head. It means play that single note harder, with a sharp emphasis, and then return to normal. It is a momentary punch, not a lasting change of volume. The notes around it stay where they were. Listen to an even line of notes, all the same weight. Now listen to the same line with one accented note in the middle, jumping out of the texture. Notice that nothing else got louder, only the marked note leaned forward. That is the whole point of an accent. It picks out one note and gives it a stress, the way you would push on one syllable in a spoken sentence. The accent has a few stronger relatives, a small library of marks that each ask for a different touch. The marcato sign is a vertical wedge, an arrowhead pointing up, and it means heavily accented and a touch detached, even more force than a plain accent. Listen to a marcato note, hit hard and short. Then there is tenuto, written as a short flat line above or below the note head. Tenuto means hold the note for its full written value, leaning into it, giving it weight and a gentle press rather than a sharp hit. Listen to a tenuto note, held full and pressed. So across the family you have staccato that shortens, tenuto that holds full, the accent that stresses, and marcato that stresses even harder. Each is a different way for your finger to touch the key, and each one is marked plainly on the page so you know exactly what the composer wanted. It is worth seeing all of this as one simple question: how much of a note's written length do you actually hold? Take a single quarter note, 1 beat long, and think of that beat as a small bar of time. Played staccato, you feel only the front sliver of the beat and the rest is silence, so listen to a staccato note, a tiny clip of sound. Played plainly, with no mark, you hold most of the beat and release just in time for the next, so listen to a plain note, held a normal length. Played tenuto, you hold the note right to the very end of its value and lean on it, so listen to a tenuto note, stretched to fill the whole beat. Same pitch, same single beat, 3 different amounts of sound inside it. Staccato is the shortest, tenuto is the fullest, and the plain note sits in between. Articulation, at its core, is you deciding how much of each note is sound and how much is silence. Now let us put the marks to work on one short phrase, and hear how much articulation alone can change a line. Here are 6 notes, and we will play them 3 different ways while the volume stays exactly the same. First, the plain reading, every note held full and even, no marks at all. It is correct, but it is flat and characterless. Now the same 6 notes with the first for staccato and the last 2 under a slur, a crisp bouncing opening that melts into a smooth ending. And now the same 6 notes again with an accent on the high peak, the top note punching out while the rest stay gentle around it. 3 completely different characters, and not one pitch changed and not one note got louder overall. The shape came entirely from how each note was attacked and released. It helps to know when each touch tends to show up, so the marks start to feel like instructions rather than decoration. Staccato gives energy and lift, so it lives in playful, dance-like, rhythmic music, light and bouncing. Legato gives flow and song, so it lives in lyrical melodies, the lines you would hum, anything meant to feel vocal and connected. Accents and marcato give punch and drive, so they live at climaxes, on strong beats, in marches and bold rhythmic passages where the music needs to push. And tenuto gives weight without sharpness, often marking a note that should sit a little longer and lean, a moment of gentle insistence. None of these change the pitches and none of these change the printed loudness. They change the touch, and the touch is what makes one player sound mechanical and another sound alive. So here is the whole picture. A dot means short. A slur means smooth. A sideways wedge means stress this one. An upward wedge means stress it hard. A flat line means hold it full. 5 small marks, and between them they tell your fingers how to touch every note in a piece. That touch is not a detail. It is half of the expression, the difference between notes that are merely correct and a line that actually breathes. You can now read the dots, the slurs, and the wedges, and play the same notes with completely different character. Next, we leave the single note behind and look at the Italian words printed above the very first bar, the tempo and expression terms that set the speed and the mood of the whole piece before you play a thing.